And my topic today, therefore, is mind management from the perspective of spirituality and human personality. So, I was telling about the definition of health given by World Health Organization. It says that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. That means if you have no disease in your body and mind, then you will not be called a healthy person. It also requires a completeness of physical and mental health. Means your body should be healthy, your mind should be healthy, and your social status should also be healthy. So well-being of physical, mental, and social status is together called the health. Now, when we are discussing this mental health, what the word that comes to our mind is mind. All right, and where does this mind stay? Where is the mind? If you dissect the body, if you cut my body into a large number of pieces, okay, will you get my mind somewhere? Where is it? Is it inside the body or is it outside the body? And if it is inside the body, where does it reside, and all these things. So this has been a age long question, and the human beings are the only species out of the trillion and trillion species available in this planet. Human beings are the only species who ask themselves, who am I? Don't you ask this question to you very often, that who am I exactly? Where do I come from? And where do I have to go after this body dies? So let us discuss for a couple of minutes on this particular aspect. Who am I? Because this forms the very basis of the presence of mind and management of mind. Now, when we say who am I, we say I am a human being, and you never say a a dog being, or a cat being, or an elephant being, but you always say human being. Why? What is the reason? Human being is a phrase which consists of two words, human and being, and you can see our entity, our entire entity, our existence has got two components. One is the human components and one is the being components. Now the human components is what you see in the picture. It's our physical body. So physical body is called human because this word human has been derived from the word humus in Greek, which means earth. That means this body is made of earth. In fact, this body is made of 5 elements, and earth is one of them. And but this whole body is not me. The whole body is not me, because the moment I die, the body will be called a body. The body will no more be called Professor Alok Satpathy. The body will no more be able to speak and give a lecture on mind management. So this body is only a part of my existence or my entity. Now, what is the other part? The other part is the entity that resides in the body and drives the body. Just like a car on its own cannot move on the road mechanically, there has to be a driver who has to sit on the driver's seat and drive the car. Therefore, there must be some form of energy, some form of controller that must be residing in the body, and under the direction of whom the whole body operates, or the whole body I mean engages itself into various activities. So that is the being part, and that being part is nothing but a form of energy. So our whole existence, our whole entity, you can say, is divided into two components. One is the physical component that you can see and others can see, and other is the energy component which cannot be seen but which is very important, which is inherent in the physical body and drives the physical body and operates the physical body the way it wants to. So it is just like a computer system. Suppose you have a system in your desktop in your lab. The desktop itself, without power supply, without a software in it, without the operating system, is just a box. You cannot do any computational activity only with the physical existence of the desktop. You have to have the software uh, software loaded onto it, you have to have the power supplied into it, and then only you can perform all computational activity. So also the thing, for example, if I minus the energy in me, then that is just a bundle of flesh and blood. So that bundle of flesh and blood cannot actually deliver anything that is expected from a human being. So in that case, it is just a human body only, and the being part is absent. So it is very important to understand at this stage that our existence or the human existence is composed of two vital components. One is the hardware component, that is the physical body, and one is the software component, that is the energy. Now this energy has been named as various saints and philosophers and spiritualists either as simply a point of energy or a point of light, or as the spirit, or as the soul, or in the Vedic vocabulary this is called the Atman. So these are the combination of this Atman or the soul and the physical body, which is the hardware of our existence, together constitute the entire system, which operates in a very fascinating way as per the God's design. Now, coming to the hardware part of our existence, the body that we see in us, the physical body, when you stand in front of a mirror, what you see is not you. Actually, what you see is, you see your physical body, and that physical body consists of 5 elements, the Pancha Tattva. What are they? Air, water, fire, earth, space. This is part of the primitive knowledge that the Hindu philosophy does have. So Vayu, Jal, Agni, Prithvi and Akash, these 5 elements, they constitute our physical being. And the other part, that is the energy or the spirit or soul or Atma, whichever name you give. So I am not insisting here to accept it as Atma. You can, but you cannot deny that it is a form of energy. And if this energy is not existing in the physical body, then the physical body is not a human being, the physical body is simply a body. Because you see, when a person, a very eminent person, may he be a late president or prime minister, whoever he is, when he is serious and he is taken into the operation theatre, then people say, okay, the president has been taken into the operation theatre, or Mr. So and so, Dr. So and so, or Professor so and so has been taken into the operation theatre. The doctor say, bring him inside. But suppose something happens on the operation table and the person dies, then the same doctor who a couple of hours back was telling that bring him inside, now will tell take the body outside. So the moment the energy leaves the physical body, then our entire existence reduces just to a body of flesh and blood, or a body made up of 5 elements: the earth, air, space, fire and water. So that very energy which resides in the body, and because of which we are called human being, is very important, and you can name it either as energy, spirit, soul or Atma. It is up to you, depending on your belief system, depending on your sanskar, depending on your background knowledge, you can name it anything. But remember, in whatever way you name it, it is a point of energy only, right? And if you go into the knowledge of any religion, be it Christianity, be it Islam or Hinduism, everywhere there is indications that this inherent power or energy that is within the body is nothing but a point of light or point of energy. Now this energy has 3 components again. The components are Man, Buddhi and Samskar. What are they? The mind, which is very important, intellect and habits. The energy that resides in the body and allows the body to operate as a human being has 3 components: mind, which is called Man, intellect, which is called Buddhi or Vivek, and habits, or sanskar. So if you look at these five elements and these elements, all the five elements, you see the air, water, fire, etc., are all, they have a physical identity, they are physical in nature. But the energy components like the mind, intellect and habits, these are not physical components, they are non-physical components. You cannot touch your mind. As I told you, if the doctors dissect your body into parts, a million parts, and they search, they can get your liver, they can get your kidney, they can get your brain, they can get your heart, but they will never get your mind. So where is the mind gone? After the energy is leaving your, has left your body, where the mind has gone, where the intellect has gone, where your habits have gone? Because they are non-physical in nature. You don't find them within the body, you don't find them within the physical domain, because they are all non-physical entities. But these non-physical entities, like the software in a computer system, they are responsible for operating the body, they are responsible for shaping our personality, they are responsible for shaping our activities, and they are responsible for even shaping our destiny. So this destiny is not given by God or by any almighty. The destiny has been created by the three elements: the mind, intellect and habits, the man, buddhi and the sanskar. So today, because we are interacting on the occasion of World Mental Health Day, so my focus will be on the first component of the energy, that is mind. And we'll be seeing how this mind can be managed, how this mind can be controlled, how this mind can be organized, and how this mind can be made to work as per our wish. So and we are like, maybe many of us are very good managers, because from morning to evening we manage many things. We manage money, we manage our materials, we manage, as engineers we manage machines, and after all we manage, and above all we manage man. So you have to, in the family you have to manage so many people at a time. In the in your day to day life you have to manage money, and in the lab you have to manage the machines and the materials that you are working with. So these are all M's: M for money, M for materials, M for machines and M for man. So these 4 M we are very efficient in managing, and we are like, from morning to evening, from say day to night, we have been managing these things very nicely. But there is also, apart from these 4 M's, there is also a fifth M which we ignore, and which you need to control and manage. That is, the fifth M is a very important M, and that is the mind, our mind. Because you can only control your mind, you can only control your own, you can organize your own mind, you can control the activities that are taking place within your mind only. So you are supposed to be the master of your own mind. Now what is this fifth M? Mind. And the other M's, the man, machine, material, money, they are all physical again. So if you see, the 4 physical M's are being managed well by us, but the fifth M, which is non-physical in nature, which does not have a physical existence, which cannot be touched, which cannot be smelled, which cannot be tasted. So that fifth M, or the mind, is the only non-physical M present here, and but that is the most important. And if you can manage your mind, if you can mold and shape your mind, not only your all other physical M's will be all right, your life will, day to day life will be enriched, and your social, psychological, academic life will get enriched. And what is this mind? Mind is the generator of thoughts. A doctor may say that the thoughts are generated in the brain, but that is not true, because when a person dies, where are the thoughts gone? The brain is still there. If you dissect the, if you cut the skull You can find the brain physically inside a dead body, but the dead body is not capable of thinking. The dead body is not capable of generating thoughts. So even if the brain is present in a dead body, it cannot think. So it is not the brain which generates thoughts. It is the mind which generates thoughts. And this mind is the software part of the brain. Okay, so when the energy leaves the body at the time of death of a patient, then what happens? With the energy, the mind also is gone. So there will be, the mind is absent, the intellect is absent, the habits are also absent. The moment the spirit leaves the body, these three non-physical entities are also out of the body, and the body is not capable of justifying, deciding, or even generating simple thoughts. So it is very important to understand what this mind is and how can this mind be tackled. If I ask you a question, how often you clean your house, then maybe you will say once in a year or twice a year, or you can say no, daily I clean my house. So we are very particular in cleaning our houses because we always want that the houses should look good to our visitors. If I ask you how often you clean your body, then also you can answer this question because I am asking you physical question. How often you clean, when did you last clean your body? Then you say, okay, I am every day I am taking bath, so I clean my body every day. Okay, fine, you clean your body every day because you want to look good. So you keep yourself, you shave every day and you clean yourself, you take bath every day, you apply perfume. So you make so many things to make your body look beautiful or make your body look impressive. Similarly, you do so many things. You paint your house, you whitewash your house, you clean your garden, you do all these things because you want your houses to look good. But at the same time, if I ask you the big question, how often you clean your mind, then maybe many of us do not have this answer. Maybe many of us do not even know or understand or realize the need of cleaning our mind. So it may so happen that many of us do not know what is the meaning of cleaning the mind. So mind is, because whenever things are physical, we understand things in a simpler way. But when we go into the non-physical domain, non-physical regime, then things become difficult for us to understand and comprehend. So my question is, how often we clean our mind? So based on this answer to this question is the answer to today's problem. Today's problem is that we are stressed. Today's problem is that our mind is full of anxiety. Today's problem is that our future is uncertain and we are much worried about it. Today's problem is that many of the youngsters are suffering from depression because of the fear and anxiety that is surrounding, and particularly in this pandemic COVID-19 period, everything is uncertain. You don't know what will happen tomorrow. You don't know what will happen next month. You don't know when you are going to come to the institute to continue your research. You do not know what is going to be, what is in store for your future. So everything is uncertain. So and there are so many questions. We have so many questions, and questions are many, but answers we do not know. So all these problems have only one answer. The answer is the answer to this particular big question, that how often we clean our mind. Now question is, what to clean from the mind? Now the mind generates thoughts, as I told you. The mind is a machine, you can say non-physical machine which generates thoughts. Just like in our household activities, every morning we generate so many kachada, so many solid waste which we go out of the house and throw it somewhere. So similarly, what we generate in our mind is thoughts, and you'll be surprised to know. I think I recall yesterday Dr. Acharya was telling how many thoughts are generated every day. The number is very big. So we generate normally 35 to 40 thoughts per minute, into 60 per hour, into 24 per day. So many thoughts are generated every day. But every day, just like we clean our kachada, just like we throw our kachada outside our house, or go to it, take to the nearest dustbin, do we do that as far as our mind is concerned? Do we throw the waste thoughts into a dustbin every day, or in every month or every week? Just ask this question to yourself. And many of us, if we ask this question to ourselves, the honest answer will be no. We have not bothered to clean our mind of the garbages that are in the form of waste thoughts, negative thoughts, and destructive thoughts. Now, this thought is very important and a very important player in determining, in deciding, and in shaping human personality. And thoughts, like mind, like intellect, is again a non-physical entity. So whenever something is non-physical, we tend to ignore them because we can't see them. We can't see them. We are in this materialistic world. We are more concerned about the matter. Therefore, we are more concerned and more careful about the physical things that are visible to us and that are visible to others as well. So, thought is a non-physical dimension of our personality, and it is not only one aspect of our component of our personality. It is the most important, most significant player that determines our personality, our habits, and even our destiny. So I'll be explaining you these things step by step. Broadly, we can divide the thoughts into two types: the positive thoughts and negative thoughts. So nowadays you might be listening a lot about positive thinking. There are courses on positive thinking as well. But we need to understand what is positive thinking and what is negative thinking. See, in the positive thought category, you have some necessary thoughts, some good thoughts, some thoughts which are making you more creative and innovative, and there are some high level thoughts called elevated thoughts. Now, necessary thoughts are like, say for example, I am the head of my family, so for me it is necessary to earn my the daily bread. So it is necessary for me to go to market and buy sabji and other things to back to home. So I have to plan for it, I have to think for it, and I have to carry out it as per my organized as per my planning or my organization. Now these are all necessary thoughts. But at the same time, see for example, what should I eat at the in the dinner? That is a necessary thought, because unless I think what will be prepared for the dinner, I cannot prepare the dinner. Okay, so that is a necessary thought. But if I am wasting 1 hour of my time today about what will be cooked on the next Sunday, then it is an unnecessary thought, right? So I am thinking something which might be necessary at that point of time, but it is not necessary right at this moment. So it is unnecessary thought. What did I eat 2 months back on this particular day? I am thinking and thinking and thinking, and I am wasting a lot of time for that. And this is an unnecessary thought. Today is 11th October. What did I eat 11th October 2019? If I am breaking my head to recall these things, then it is an unnecessary thought. So some thoughts are necessary and some thoughts are unnecessary. Similarly, some thoughts are good. See, if I look at a person, I can recall his good qualities. Oh, he is a nice man. Oh, he helped me last year when I was in distress. Oh, he is such a socially mixing person. So if I look at a person, then I am generating all good things about him. So I am generating good thoughts. Here I would like to mention one thing, that normally people say the thoughts are coming into my mind. This is wrong. Thoughts do not come to your mind. Your mind creates the thoughts. So the thoughts are created inside the mind. the thoughts do not get into our mental domain, right? So when you look at a person, you have the option of generating good thoughts about him and bad thoughts about him. Maybe you had some bad experience with that person, so automatically what will happen, your mind will start generating all bad. Oh, he's such a nasty person, he took money from me and he didn't give it back. So all these thoughts also you can generate. So all these thoughts are waste thoughts, because even if you think that he has taken my money and is not going to give me back, he is not going to give you back anyway. Whether you think or don't think, he is not going to give you back. Or if he has done something wrong with you, he has already done, and if you are thinking more about him, about the thing just by looking at him, then also your thoughts are waste for you. And remember one thing, whether you generate good thoughts or waste thoughts, these thoughts gets piled up in your mind, not in his mind. Suppose whatever waste we generate in our kitchen or in our garden, that gets piled up in the house itself. So if you want to clean your house, then you have to just collect them and throw them outside. Similarly, all these thoughts, waste thoughts and unnecessary thoughts that you give time to are getting collected or getting stored or getting piled up in your memory space. So these are all the non-physical kachadas that we are putting in our mental storehouse. Similarly, there are, in positive category, there are creative thoughts. So suppose you are thinking of writing a poem, writing an article, or writing a book chapter. Or see, now this is pandemic time, and many of our students, particularly I am telling the research students, are sitting at home and they have no experiment to do, they have no supervisor to physically interact with, and they have no books to access, and they have no they may not be having computational facility to carry out to run the programs and all that. So this is the time I advise my students that you can use this time by writing review papers and book chapters, because they do not want any computational activity or any experimental schedule. So you can use this time. So if you are, because anyway you can't do any other thing, so you can start doing something creative, whatever is there within the within the area of possibility. So you can start doing some creative work, like writing a book chapter, writing a review paper, or writing, if you are at the end of your research, then you can write the literature review chapter at least. So these are called and the thoughts that you generate to carry out these creative activities are called creative thoughts. And you also have the liberty to orient your thoughts this way. Destructive, no, my PhD is going to be waste, I have already spent 7 years, or maybe 1 year will be eaten away by this COVID, and after 8 years I will get a degree, what shall I do, I should kill myself, or I should start taking cigarettes or drugs and all those things. You can also think like that. It is you, and it is your mind, and it is your intellect. So you are the master of creating thoughts. You are the master of deciding whether to keep the thoughts within you or to throw them out. So it is altogether your domain. So these kinds of thoughts of destroying yourself or destroying somebody's prospects, or destroying or even simply wasting time doing nothing, are coming under the category of destructive thinking or destructive thoughts. So these are a kind of negative thought. So you have necessary thoughts, on the contrary you have unnecessary thoughts. You have good thoughts, on the contrary you have waste thoughts. You have creative or destructive thoughts, either creative or destructive thoughts. You also can generate and use this time for a very, very good purpose, that is, you can generate elevated thoughts. Elevated thoughts is beyond your own self. You are thinking not about your literature review or your book chapter, you are thinking for the community. Like I congratulate this group of students who are arranging this series of talks for World Mental Health Day. Nobody asked them, nobody forced them to do so. But our volunteers in the counseling service, they decided, they created, and where from this talk has started, the concept of this talk has started from their mind. They generated that, okay, 10th October is the World Mental Health Day. Let us do something. Let us do something for the benefit of the student community or faculty community or for our friends and juniors. So they decided that, okay, let us call some people, let them share their experiences, let us interact and let us learn something, and maybe a part of that will be, a portion of those talk will be really helpful to a portion of our community. So this is generating thoughts about the good, about the betterment of not only your but also for the entire community. So you are going beyond yourself, you are going beyond your comfort zone, you are going beyond your own personal interest and what do you say, vested interest, and thinking about the community, thinking about the society, thinking about the country or the nation. Then these kind of thoughts are elevated thoughts. And I take this opportunity to congratulate our volunteers for generating these elevated thoughts of sharing these good things among our students through this series of talks or through this interactive session. On the contrary, you also have the liberty to generate toxic thoughts. Toxic thoughts are poisonous thoughts. They are harmful, more harmful than unnecessary waste and destructive thoughts. Toxic thoughts means, no, this guy is very bad, and this, because of this guy only I am put to troubles every time. So I should kill this guy, or I should put him in such a trouble that he will never come over this, come over that in his entire life. Or I should employ some person to beat him so that they will break his legs and hands. So these kind of things are toxic. Toxic thoughts are thoughts which generates very bad hormones in your body. All these good thoughts and bad thoughts, the medical interpretation is that whenever you are creating good thoughts, some good hormones like endorphin are created in your body, and even if there is a drop of endorphin creation, that drop of endorphin gets spread out or gets circulated to the billion and trillion cells of your body, and that gives you a feel good feeling. But on the contrary, when you are generating negative thoughts, you get agitated because some bad hormones are secreted from some specified glands, and they also get circulated and get spread out throughout your body, and they cause tiredness, they cause agitation of mind, they cause irritation, they cause anger and all negative things. So as you sow, so you reap. So whatever you decide to think, accordingly your life will be shaped. And that's why, see, Mahatma Gandhi told that bura mat suno, bura mat dekho, bura mat kaho. So I like to add one more thing, bura mat socho, because what you think is also important in shaping your personality and your destiny. सो बुरा मत देखो, बुरा मत कहो, बुरा मत सुनो, ये तो पता था तीन बंदर का. एक चौथा बंदर है जो बोलता है बुरा मत सोचो. दैट इज ऑल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ what is this mechanism that starts from this thought process and ultimately decides what your destiny will be? Before that, I am tempted to tell you one transmission mechanism of an automobile. See, I am a mechanical engineering teacher, so I am giving you this example. Now you see, look at this transmission system. So you have the engine. In any vehicle there is an engine, that is the powerhouse. Now this engine generates power. So this power has to go to the wheel, because ultimately the wheel has to rotate in order to displace the vehicle. Now this power through a transmission system goes to the wheel. Now that means the power comes to the friction plates, and the clutch plates will be there, and there are pressure plates, and then it will be going to the driving shaft or the propeller shaft, and that through the propeller shaft it will go to the rear part, and then there will be a differential, and through the differential the power will be distributed to the rear wheels, and the vehicle will move. This is a simple transmission system that every engineer knows. Now similarly, as per this, similarly, in a similar way, there is a circuit. what happens when you generate thoughts, and thoughts are generated by you. Once again I am telling, the thoughts do not come from nowhere, I mean do not come from anywhere. The thoughts are generated. Never think thoughts are moving outside, and when you sit straight, then thoughts will from outside will go into your mind. Thoughts are generated and do not come from outside to your mind. And who generates the thought? You generate the thought. You means the energy part of you. I told you there is a physical part, hardware part, and there is a software part. The hardware part is made up of 5 elements, that is your physical body, and the software part is made up of 3 elements: mind, intellect, and habits. And that software part, mind is there, mind generates the thoughts. Now when you generate a thought, then that thought will create a feeling in you. If you are generating a good thought, then you will have a good feeling about it. Just like I told you, you look at a person, you saw a person in the market, and immediately by looking at him, you generated good thoughts. Oh, he is a nice person. Oh, let me go and talk to him. Let me go and greet him. So you suddenly you can see that there is a good feeling inside you. And whenever there is a good feeling inside you, then an attitude, a good attitude, a positive attitude is developed within you. Because thoughts lead to feelings, and feelings lead to attitude. If you see the circuit, and it is the attitude that decide your action. So when you see a person, maybe he was your school teacher, and you are meeting him after a long time, and immediately you develop some good feelings about him. Oh, he was my teacher, he taught me mathematics. So suddenly a good attitude will be developed in your mind, and you'll be driven to go and greet him or touch his feet. So attitude leads to action. And when this transmission is repeated for many times, then what will happen? A repeated amount of action will lead to formation of habit. Okay, so when you look at a person and always consciously develop or generate good thoughts about him, then that will become, after 7 days or after 14 days, it will become a habit of yours. So if you practice this for at least 14 days or at least even 7 days, then you will find that you have developed a habit of good feelings, good thoughts. Because anything you repeat for 14 days, there is a medical reason for that. At least 14 days, then you that becomes your habit. So if you practice generating good thoughts for 14 days, then generation of good thoughts become your habit. Now your habit decides or is reflected in your personality. So there are 2 kinds of personality in the world. There are personalities who are like there are 2 kinds of personality. Which kind of personality you want to possess again depends on you. One type of person, when they arrive at a gathering, people become happy. So आप जब पहुंच जाते हो जहां गैदरिंग में, किसी गेट टुगेदर में, तो सब लोग खुश हो जाते हैं आपको देख के. When you go into the class, if you are a teacher, if you go to the class, every single boy and girl is happy because you are inside the class. And sometimes you can also develop your personality this way, that when you leave the class, everybody will be happy, or if you leave the gathering, everybody will be happy. आप पहुंच जाते हो तो लोग खुश होते हैं, और आप एक जगह से चले जाते हो तो लोग खुश होते हैं. So which kind of personality you want to become? It is your choice. And suppose you want to become or possess a personality of the first kind, then you have to prepare right from the first step. And what is the first step? First step is thought. So you have to purify your thoughts. You have to make your thoughts good, elevated, creative. Then you will develop good feelings that will lead to good attitude, positive attitude, and that will be manifested in perfect actions that will form habits in you, and these habits will mold your personality, and you will be a lovable personality or you will be a hated personality. That depends everything on your thought. So once you mold your personality, then accordingly your destiny will follow. So destiny is not written on the hands. There is a saying in Hindi that किस्मत हाथ की लकीरों में नहीं होता, क्योंकि तकदीर उनके भी होते हैं जिनके हाथ नहीं होते. Okay, so do not believe in the lines on the hand or on your forehead. That is your destiny. Your destiny is created by you, decided by you, shaped by you, but all that will start from thoughts. So thoughts are very important. And once again I am telling, I have told many times in this talk, once again I am telling that we have to be very careful about thoughts, because these thoughts are non-physical. Had they been physical, we would have taken care of them by cleaning them or by washing them, but they are all non-physical. So the way of cleaning them is also non. You don't have a detergent powder to clean your thoughts, because detergent powder is a physical way. You don't have a soap to clean them up, or you cannot use a sanitizer to wash them, because these are non-physical. So a non-physical entity can be cleaned only by a non-physical way. Okay, and the non-physical way is something that I am going to speak out. Now, if time permits, I will tell you a small story that there was a person, Ron Stevens, in the USA, and he is the owner of the largest transport company in the United States. And he wrote a book because initially he was a very poor fellow. He came from Colombia and he started in the New York City as a taxi driver. He wrote a book, From Rags to Riches. That means how from being the poorest person he became one of the richest person in the country. So there he wrote that when he came to the New York City to drive as a taxi driver, he was working with a transport company and he was driving a taxi, and every time he was having a passenger, then it was his habit, because the thoughts were very pure, it was his habit to greet him very politely, and he used to tell the passenger, "Sir, please take your seat in my car, and I assure you, I promise you that I will take you to your destination very safe, in a very safe and sound manner, and you will enjoy your ride in my car." This is a statement he very consciously he was making to every passenger he was getting. And this statement was not told simply verbally, he was making this statement from the core of his heart. That means he was thinking it and he was telling it. And when the passenger will sit, then he will ask him, "Sir, will you like to hear some music, because the journey will be a little long, so will you like to have some music? If you want music, then what kind of music? You want slow songs, romantic songs, or you want the rock music, or you want the Eastern music? What kind of music? I have got cassettes for all kinds of music." Then after some time he would ask the passenger, "Sir, if you like to have a look on today's newspaper, then I have a couple of newspapers with me. Will you like to have a look?" Then he would offer him the newspaper or magazines that he would be having with him. And when he would reach the destination, then he would say the passenger, "Sir, I am very happy that I could bring you to your destination without any difficulty, and I sincerely hope that you enjoyed my ride, and please give me opportunity to serve you again and again." This was also a statement he was making very politely from the core of his heart. See, if a person will not think this way, he cannot develop a habit of saying all these things. And Ron Stevens had the habit of saying all these things every time he had a passenger. So as a result, what happened? He was a mere taxi driver, but every time that passenger would come to that city, he would look for this particular taxi driver. So there were many rich passengers, many affluent passengers who were coming, and they were looking for they were intimating him in advance and were requesting him to come to the airport to pick them up, just because of his personality, just because of his way of talking and his behavior and his habits. So he developed that kind of personality. So, and every time they reach their destination, they will give him more money than what he deserves. So the passenger would give him more tips. So this person, Ron Stevens, in very few days, he had his own car. Then after some days he had a couple of cars. Then after some years he had a fleet of cars with him. And after 10 years he had all kinds of cars and even cargo ships with him, and he became the owner of one of the largest transport company of the United States. So what I'm trying to tell you is that where from he became so rich a person from so poor a person. He came from Colombia as a kind of street man, and without any source of income. He worked as a taxi driver, and after few years he became the owner of a huge transport company, and it all happened just because of his good, creative and elevated thoughts. And these good thoughts shaped his personality and also shaped his destiny, and he became a rich person. So this is something that we can learn from the life of Ron Stevens, and we can read it from his books, From Rags to Riches. That's why there is a saying in Hindi that सोच को बदलो तो सितारे बदल जाएंगे. If you change your thoughts, then your stars will change. सोच को बदलो तो सितारे बदल जाएंगे. नजर को बदलो तो नजरें बदल जाएंगे. कश्तियों को बदलने की जरूरत नहीं, दिशाओं को बदलो तो किनारे बदल जाएंगे. So that means you change your thoughts and everything will change. Even your destiny, your future, your career, everything will change. But you have to start working from thoughts. The problem with our Indian system is that in most of the cases, we start from action. For example, yesterday Dr. Acharya was also telling about the stress developed in the students due to the compulsory attendance. So what we do, see, we should be, as teachers, we should be able to devise some mechanism by which the students will be interested to come to the class even if there is no attendance. But we don't do that. In our institutes and in many institutes throughout the globe, what we do? No, we fix the attendance limit that you have to attend 90% of the classes, you have to attend 85% of the classes. That means we insist on the physical presence of the student instead of his mental presence. So if he is physically present, we are happy because he has come to the class and he has been given attendance. If he doesn't come physically, then we penalize him. So this is a wrong system. I do not approve this. Off the record I am telling, because I cannot tell it officially because I am bound by the regulations of the institute. But personally speaking, my opinion is that if without taking attendance, if the students come to the class, that means the students is generating a thought in his mind that I should go to the class because the class is interesting and I learn something. But if the student generates a thought that I have to go to the class because if I do not go to the class, the teacher is not going to give me attendance and I will be debarred from writing the examination, then this whole concept is very, very, very unhealthy. So, but in our system, most of our government system is like that. We ignore the non-physical part, the thought, feeling and attitude, and we start from the action. Just like helmet checking. People do not generate a thought that helmet is for my security. People wear helmet because there is a checking in the next signal. So that is the whole problem of our way of life. So this is to be starting from the thoughts itself. And if we cannot manage the thoughts, what happens? There will be stress. And why we generate stress? Because when we feel that everything seems to have become too much, things are not happening the way we want, then we get unnecessarily stressed. And the stress gives us many wonderful gifts like insomnia, diabetes. These are the physical implications of mental stress. So in the World Mental Health Day, when we are observing this, we must be careful about this particular word stress, because it has got physical implications. It has got implications on our physical health like lack of sleep, like diabetes, loss of appetite, weight loss or weight gain, skin problems, hypertension, ulcers, and whatnot, everything. So there are emotional symptoms, physical symptoms, cognitive symptoms, and behavioral symptoms, and there are say what you say changes in these symptoms when you are under stress, and this stress is arising simply out of the mismanagement of our thoughts, or because of our inability to organize our thoughts, and because of our inability or ignorance about cleaning our thoughts from our mind.